Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Your time is important and that's why I'm revealing the book right away. Here it is, How to Talk So Kids Will Listen and Listen So Kids Will Talk. And you'd say, oh, this is a book about parenting and kids? Well, yes, but also no. You can use every single lesson in this book to work on relationships with anybody, be it your spouse, your friends, your employee, your manager. This book is so magical and it's such a perfect addition to one of the books that you might have already read, How to Win Friends and Influence People. This book takes it to the next level because it's kind of a workbook and you can fill out information that is pertinent to your life and practice all the concepts, because without practice, just reading this stuff passively is not going to really help you. This is a lifelong learning, so we really need to get our head in. I read this book over and over again just to remind myself of the pointers because there's just so much good information. So without further ado, let's get right into the book. This book is divided into 6 chapters. And then the 7th chapter is actually using it, all the concepts together. Chapter 1, it's all about dealing with your kids' feelings. And again, use kids, spouse, moms, friends, best friends, sister-in-laws, brother-in-laws, anybody in there. This is the book that you learn to deal with people's feelings. Why it is so important to actually empathize. I don't even think that there's a lot of usage of that word, but it all boils down to empathy. So let's get started. How do you deal with your children's feelings? Here, there's a step-by-step approach. First of all, don't deny their feelings just by saying if your child is unhappy about something and you just say, there's no need to feel that way, you're okay, you're gonna be fine. And that's just, oh yeah, sure, thanks mom, you just missed everything that I was feeling. And the specific steps that the book talks about are: listen with full attention, acknowledge their feelings, name their feeling, and give them their wishes in fantasy if it's not possible in real life. So, for example, there was a time where I had taken my daughter to the gym class and she really wanted to stay for the next class because she saw another friend of hers coming, and I just saw this meltdown happening that she didn't want to go home. She wanted to be with that friend and want to do another class. We didn't really pay for that class, so I couldn't have just left her there. So I went down back to the basics and just thought about how can I address her feelings? What does she want? So I just went and very, very gently said, oh, you're disappointed that you are not able to take this class with your friend. And that's when she opened up, because she was ready to cry. But as soon as I said that I know how you feel, she just opened up. She's like, yeah, and I really wanted to share my snack. I was like, oh, wow, okay. Let's go run to the car, get the snack, share it with your friend, and then we can go home, because that way your friend will be able to have that snack. And that's exactly what happened. She was so happy to share the snack with her friend, and that's all she needed, and she wanted just to share her food. And instead of this like massive meltdown where I'd have to like drag her out of the gym class and then like just put her in the car seat and force her into the seat belt, everything happened super smooth, and we just left with a really nice feeling and had a chatty ride all the way back home, very pleasurable and very peaceful. Just because I used the word disappointed, I named that feeling. In this case, I didn't have to give her anything in fantasy. What she wanted was just very easy for us to do. But the point here is that she was able to talk. She was able to express what she wanted, because I just took a moment to try to understand what she might really have wanted at that moment. So do not dismiss feelings. It's the same with your spouse. If you're having a fight with your spouse, you could just like take a moment to try to understand from their perspective what they must be going through. Are they angry, disappointed, happy, sad? If I see some tension building up, I just start using these list of adjectives, try to put them in that situation, and boom, like 90% of the times, that's all there is to it. I just have to use that right name to the feeling. The next one is engaging cooperation. Don't we all want all our kids to do exactly what we ask them to do? But again, we have to remember that they are people of their own, and we can't just like force them to do so many things. We need to engage their cooperation. And this chapter, I just go back to it over and over again, because it's just so easy to prevent these battle of the wills once you know and follow these principles. So here are the steps. Describe the problem What is the problem that you're having? Give information about the problem. Say it with a word. Just one word is enough. And then talk about a feeling. If none of that is working, this is a really cool, nifty trick that they've provided. Write a note. Even for the kids who cannot read yet, write a note, stick it on somewhere they can access it, and you'll see magic happen. So let's go through an example. So, for example, there is a wet towel on the bed. Instead of just starting to scream like, "You're so sloppy and slothy," and calling names and just attacking your child's character, all you have to do is describe what the problem is with that wet towel on the bed. You can just say, "I see a wet towel on the bed, and that's making all the bed sheets moist, and it's not fun to sleep on a wet bed." That's all. That's usually all the information a person needs to make the amends, because if we start criticizing them and attacking their character, they'll just go on the defensive and they won't want to focus on solving the problem. Instead, they would just be, "Oh, well, I'm not the dirty one. You also left the towel the other day," and just things will start to snowball from there. So all you have to do is describe what the problem is. The next one is give information. So I actually covered some of it in the previous point, but you could just give information that it's not nice to sleep on a wet bed. So that's all I needed to say. It's not nice to sleep on a wet bed. And then the next one, use just one word. You don't have to sing a long lecture or just go on rambling about it. All you have to do is one word. You can say, "Kids, the towels." And the last one, you can talk about your feelings. You can actually let them know how you feel about the towel being over there. So you could just say, "It makes me feel yucky to see a wet bed that I need to sleep in soon." All you have to do is express what you are feeling and not what they did wrong, if that makes sense. This one, actually, this is the last one, and that one is so cool because it's just got this magical effect. You could write a note. Right on that towel. "Hey, I belong in the bathroom." If your kids cannot read yet, they're going to come and ask you, "Mommy, what does that note say on the towel?" And you could let them know that this note says, "Hey, I'm a wet towel. I belong on the hanger on the bathroom." And they would just pretty much rush and go get it to the bathroom because that note is just so entertaining. Next, punishment. Oh my gosh, this is such a loaded topic, but I'm gonna try to cover it succinctly. The chapter is titled Alternatives to Punishment. Why? Because punishment is useless. It doesn't work. All that a punished child is thinking is, how can I get back to this parent? Or feeling really demotivated and let down and not really confident because they were punished. They are just sad and they are in the defensive mode. Punishments don't work long term. And if there is anything that I want to do with my parenting is I want to raise friends. I do not think I can punish them and still expect them to be friendly to me when they grow up. So I have to lay down the foundations right away. It's very easy to just punish a child rather than thinking about alternatives, because that's when we are really forced to think about what can we do? What are the alternatives? And how can we still maintain decorum in our house without really hitting spanking, timeouts, and sending them to a dark room, being alone, scared, and crying? I don't think that gives any parent a good feeling after they've done that either. No child is learning great lessons from that. So let's explore those alternatives to punishment. Here are the alternatives to punishment that the book talks about. So instead of punishments, you can express your feelings very strongly. You are allowed to feel and you are allowed to express it. You don't have to be a phony. Just don't attack your child's character. So for example, you could say that, "Hey, it upsets me that we fight about this brushing of teeth every single day. It is very disappointing and upsetting to me." You can express those feelings to your children. The next one is you can state your expectations. It's just a neutral statement that just says, "I just expect that you maintain a good oral hygiene for healthy teeth. This will help you all your life," right? The next one, you can actually show your child how to make the amends. Sometimes it's really hard for children to understand what are they even supposed to do. In this example, we could just say, hey, I can keep the brush on the counter instead of the cabinet if you've been forgetting because you're not able to see it. So you're really making some amends and helping them solve this problem that they're dealing with. Next, offer a choice. Would you like strawberry toothpaste or mint toothpaste? Let's go to the store the next time and you get to pick your own toothpaste. That way, the child knows that they are in control and they have this choice, and they'll be much more likely to just engage in this activity instead of just being punished every single day. Take action. This one is probably a little bit of a sneaky one, but you could lock the candy jar and the child would be like, Mom, why is the candy jar locked? You tell me why. Then you can start that conversation again, and they can understand that this is kind of like a natural consequence. It's not something where you are punishing them right away, but this has been done, and then the next day or the day after, they're realizing that there is a consequence to them not keeping a good oral hygiene, if that makes sense. Going back to the feelings chapter, it's very important to prevent things from happening rather than coming to this stage where you need to think about punishment or their alternatives. So it really comes together nicely that first you do the preventative measures, and then if there's something wrong going on, you can figure out about the alternatives to punishment. Encouraging autonomy. We really want these kids to grow into autonomous individuals that can make independent, good decisions, moral decisions. So how do we get to do them? So here are a few things that the book helps you with. It's laid out in a really nice, systematic manner. All the tips are incredible. So let's go through them. So it says, let children make choices, respect their struggles, and don't ask too many questions. Don't rush to answer their questions right away. Encourage children to use sources outside of the house, and don't take away their hope. So let's go through some example. Let children make choices. So anytime you want them to be in their pajamas, you give them, hey, tonight, which one would you like? Would you like the red pajamas or the blue pajamas? Once they have that choice, they'll feel more empowered to just get into pajamas. I'm like, tonight is red pajamas night. They'll be more inclined to make that jump because they figured that there's some control that they got. The next one is you have to show respect for their struggles. If there's something really, really hard for them to do, but they're still trying to do it themselves, you can't put them down. Oh, you're so weak. You won't be able to open that can by yourself any day soon. Just give it to me. That's not showing respect. You could be like, oh, I see you're working so hard with your hands and trying to turn that can opener. This is just showing some respect. If they want help, they'll come reach out to you instead of just go rush, fix their problems right away. Which brings me to the next point is don't rush to fix their problems right away. They need some time. You've had so much practice all your life to tie your shoelaces or wear your clothes. So that doesn't mean you are the one who's gonna get to tie the shoelaces for their entire lives. Give them all that time to practice it because they are not running on a minute-by-minute schedule like us adults are. Their lives need to be slower. That is just appropriate for their development. So budget that extra time and going out of the house, budget 5 minutes for wearing shoes. Just get up that much early and you won't find yourself or the kids struggling. So you're not rushing to solve every problem for them. The next one is don't ask too many questions. It comes from a really good place, but as soon as we see our kids, we go, hey, how was your day? What did you do at school? How many things that you learned, or what did you eat for lunch? It might be too much, like for a tired child coming back from school. Maybe they didn't have a good day and they don't want to talk about it. So a very simple, I'm happy to see you, can start the conversation that you're looking for. If you don't get the information that you're looking for from your child, you go ask the teachers or the school management. You don't need your child to, they are not obliged to give you all the information. They'll talk when they are ready to, and you give them the space that they need. The next one is don't take away their hope. If your child comes and says, hey mom, I want to be a doctor, and all you have to say is, looks like you're interested in the medical field. That's exactly what they want to hear. Just something neutral. You don't have to be so excited or bummed about it. Give them a neutral platform, and they can open up and talk more about it, start the conversation like that. Chapter 5, Praise. Oh, and now you're gonna ask me not to praise my own child? What is this book all about? Hold on. Let's unwrap this thing that is praise. Let's take an example of how you as an adult would feel about praise. Say you've just started to learn how to play tennis and you are not able to serve in the right place. Either the ball goes right through the net or outside the court. Today you're playing doubles with some friends, and today for the first time in your life, the serve is landing exactly where you hoped it will. Now your partner says, "Oh my gosh, you have the perfect serve." What did that do to your self-esteem? I'm assuming you got even less confident, especially for the next time now that you're gonna serve. What was the reason of that? They used just really good language and they were kind to you. The problem with that statement was that they used evaluating words. They used the word perfect, which is kind of evaluating and judging your serve. So now there is pressure on you. So the similar thing that we do to our kids is saying good job or fantastic or great work. They're not bad, but do you see the problem? Here we are not giving the kids' self-esteem a chance. Instead, we are evaluating their work for them. How about we stay neutral just as usual and let the child evaluate how they did on their task? Here are the 3 ways you could be helpful praising your child. First one, describe what you see. I see a smooth bed, clothes are folded, and all the books are tucked away neatly on the bookshelf. Second, you can talk about how you feel. It's a pleasure walking into this room. Third, you can sum up with a word. So you give a description and then there is a word. You sorted out your Legos, farm animals, all the books. Now that's what I call organization. Another example. A couple of days ago, my daughter swam the entire length of a 25-yard pool. What I said to her was, "I noticed that you paddled and you kicked the whole time. That's what I call perseverance." She just looked at me and she noticed that I gave a name to all the effort that she made. I did not evaluate what she did. I just merely stated the facts. But that proves to them that you are genuinely interested in what they're doing. And it's not empty praise. You really took the time to make up this whole description in your head. And the more you do it, the more practice you get, the better you will get at it. Because we're just very wired to say, "Good job, fantastic. I'm so proud of you." Wait, what? The child swam the entire pool distance and it's about you being proud of them? See how we've just shortchanged their entire effort and made it all about ourselves? So it's just so amazing. When in doubt, stay neutral, just describe what you see. If there's a problem, describe what you see. If there's something you want to praise, describe. Okay, on to the last concept of the book. Freeing children from playing roles. This one is so important because this can haunt our kids for their entire lives. Heaven knows it has haunted us as adults. How many times do you remember your teachers, your parents, your cousins, siblings, or anybody in your life just labeling you? Maybe you were the destructive one, maybe you were the naughty one, or so many other labels that we slap onto our children. That can really damage the way they think and their self-confidence for their entire lives. We need to free our children from these roles. Nobody should be labeled anything. Life is ever changing. Our bodies and minds are ever changing. So we cannot label a person. What they did, the action they took could be naughty, but the child isn't naughty, if that makes sense. So here's how we can do some damage control. At this point, we've already labeled them and made a mistake kind of raising them. So we need to figure out how to backtrack and just free them from these chains of roles that we've put on their tiny little brain. I would like to read a part of the introduction from the book itself, which has such a strong example. I remember the moment when my son David was born. 5 seconds had gone by and he still hadn't breathed. I was terrified. The nurse slapped him on his back. No response. The tension was excruciating. She said, "He's a stubborn one." Still no response. A moment later, he finally cried. That piercing sound of a newborn, and my relief was indescribable. But later on that day, I found myself wondering, is he really stubborn? By the time I brought him home from the hospital, I had put the nurse's comment in its place. Foolish words from a foolish woman. Imagine putting a label on an infant less than half a minute old. That's the sad but true story. These are the kind of adjectives that we place on our children, and then they have to live with it for their entire lives. Both labels, positive or negative, can be very jarring to their brains. If you say a child is so gifted, they might get overconfident, I believe, and not understand the importance of hard work. Just being gifted does not replace hard work. So that could be even more devastating for a child, to understand that they really needed to put in the work. Just being gifted will not give you the information. You still have to study for your exams and things like that. So how about we don't put them in the roles in the first place? But what if we already have? Because our society, it's very common. I think I was always the naughty one. And all that made me feel was, all right, since I'm naughty, let's just play naughty and do all the things that are destructive or whatever I was expected to do as a naughty child. All right, how do we free these kids from the labels? That's exactly what the chapter discovers. Look for opportunities to show the child a new picture for himself or herself. For example, for a destructive child, we can mention that anything that they have that they've kept really nicely, we could highlight that and say, wow, you've kept that toy looking as good as new since you were 3 years old. Next, put the children in a situation where they can see themselves differently. For example, for a greedy child, you can give them all the candies to distribute to everybody and make sure that they are using fair ways to share amongst their siblings or peers. The next one is, you can let the children overhear you say something really nice about them. For example, if you're talking to your mom on the phone and the child is hearing you, you could say to your mom, "Mom, do you know Billy was so amazing this whole week? He took care of the pet, he took him for all his walks, and he was being so responsible." So this is the child that you would have previously labeled as mischievous and not helpful, but now you're talking to someone else about their positive achievements. They are now seeing themselves in this new different light. The next one, the most important one, I guess, from all of this is model the behavior you'd like to see. So say, for example, you're playing cards or some game with your kids and you are the one who lost. So instead of you being the sore loser, because that's the kind of label that we are trying to break from our children, you would just say, "Hey, that was a game really well played. I'm bummed to lose, but congratulations to you on your win." The next one is, be a storehouse for your child's special moments. This means you are the reminder. Even if they stop believing in themselves, they could break free from a label. You are the storehouse. You'll give them the reminder. For example, if a child says, "There is no way, I cannot get this done. I'm just so uncoordinated." You could go back and say, "Oh, I remember that time where you managed the entire event for your younger sibling's party." I would just say that you have great leadership skills. They are kind of thinking that they are uncoordinated, but you say that they have leadership qualities instead and cite an example. That means it's coming from a sincere place and you truly believe that this child can. I don't think that after this point, the child wouldn't feel that there is a possibility that they do have good leadership skills. And the last one is, when your child behaves according to the old label, simply state your feelings and expectations. We are using a neutral tone. For example, if your child is being a sore loser, again, we are not labeling the child a sore loser at the time, but we do recognize that that's a problem. So we could just state affirmatively, "I don't like that. Despite your strong feelings, I expect you to be a sport about losing." Those are the 6 chapters. One of the best parts that I like about this book is that it has a workbook kind of structure. And you'll be able to see and write all the skills that you've used. They've given some situations and you can write down how you would feel or premeditate some of the adversity. When the situation arises, it's so much easier to handle it if we've actually written it down and premeditated that situation in our head. So that's one of the most powerful things about this book. But I write it down, all these exercises, and I try to do before bedtime with my spouse, so we both on the same page. In conclusion, I would want to say is just one of the most respectful way to live with these new roommates that we created. These are I call them my roommates that I produced from my own body. But really, this is a respectful way of living under the same roof. And as I said before, I use this book with my spouse as well. At times, if we've had a fight or an argument, we go back to the book and figure out which one it was and say it was some kind of name calling. So then that was a label that we put on each other. We try to break each other free of those labels. Or at times when we were really mad or angry at each other, instead we could do a problem solving session where we sit down with each other, write down what was bugging us, what are the solutions that both parties could actually work with, and then choose one. So next time if that happens, we know how to handle that. So again, I cannot recommend this book enough. It has truly changed our lives. It has truly changed the way we think about our kids, our friends, and anybody around us. I don't think empathy is something that you're just either born with or not. It is a skill that when practiced enough, you will acquire and you'll start using. And this book has helped me so much to grow my empathy. If you were watching till this point, I thank you so much for your attention. If there's any other thing or thought or tip that you might want to share, please write it down in the comments section below. And if this video helped you, feel free to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. Please share this video with friends that you might think have been having a hard time, especially with the pandemic and kids and parents staying under the same roof at all times. This book can really help us get through these tough times and be great for everybody's mental health. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video. Bye.